Well, after sitting through many hours listening to other people read their testimony, I test the fact that you folks can read well, and I'm going to try to paraphrase it to the best of my ability. I want to begin by saying thank you very, very, very much. I know you folks are busy, and this may just be another piece of legislation, but to a lot of us, this is paramount. This is about our futures. So I can't thank Chairman Washington or Chairman Mensch enough. Chairman Mensch and your staff have been very gracious in receiving some information, stuff that I have forwarded from other people, not only from my office, but throughout Pennsylvania. By disclosure, in fairness, I am an adoptee, in case you did not know that. I am joined by my fellow colleague, Madam Chairwoman, Representative Kathy Watson, who is also an adoptee, and brings a unique perspective because she is also an adoptive mother and was very keen in the legislation dialogue that we had in the House and provided tremendous testimony and support, and I can't thank her enough. But more importantly, I'm not here on behalf of myself. I am a representative of the Commonwealth, not just the 771st District, but by many of the people sitting behind me and those that are watching across Pennsylvania and beyond our borders. It's hard to believe an issue can be so systemic, but it is. As my dear friend Annie Williams, who's a representative in Illinois who came and testified at the House hearing last October, anxiously awaits sitting in Illinois right now watching the webcast. She voted to give the support to her own constituents in the state of Illinois, even though she's a native of Pennsylvania, an adoptee herself. And she's going to kill me for this point, but at 45 years old, she still waits to get that one piece of paper, to see her name, to know what town she was born in, and what her ethnic background is. That's all we're asking. You'll hear a lot of testimony today, and it may be somewhat passionate because it's a passion issue, and that's good. We should be passionate about what we do. House Bill 162 allows 19-year-olds, and we chose the number 19, nothing magical, but we do realize there are some high school students that are 18 and just maybe emancipated minors, and just to try to not have to muddle through that, we thought we'd go to the next age at 19. I'm not locked into that. I'm open to other suggestions, but that was something that we, the committee, and the chairwoman and I arrived at. We also feel that at 19, we consider them adults for many other issues in their lives, and we are talking about adult adoptees that should have no different rights than anyone else here in the state of Pennsylvania. I have written comments probably for a week straight, wanting to give you the greatest presentation in the world. But I won't bore you with all those comments because I'd be here forever, and that may hurt my chances of getting this passed. But I have to tell you, if I had the opportunity to read through letter after letter after letter, you would feel the same anguish and the passion I have by many of the people that have contacted our offices. I sent each of you a video, on a YouTube video link, and I hope you'll take time to watch it. It's called A Right to Know. I think it says a lot. Senator Mensch, I know you're gracious enough to read that, and you also took time to respond to me on that. It speaks the words that many of the people behind me wish they could jump up and say today. It's heartfelt when you see people 40, 50, 60, and beyond just asking to be able to see a single piece of paper. We've all taken an oath to represent people of this Commonwealth, and in doing so, to try to do that fairly. I've thought about this issue for many years, and I've thought about the fact that it boils down to one thing. Yes, this would be helpful for medical records, and I'll elaborate on that in a moment, but fundamentally, it's about fairness. People that are raised by their natural mother can get a copy of the original birth certificate. Those who could be in foster care, whether one foster family or 8 foster families, have the right to get that birth certificate. But yet we as adoptees, for some reason, are told by our own government, you can't have that. I find that unconscionable, especially at the time you become an adult. Now, there will be those who will also say this is important because of medical heritage and medical information. I can't emphasize that enough. I am one of 4 adopted children. My parents had end up having, I believe, a blessing of their own. God probably rewarded them for adopting those first 4 and gave them one of their own. And then I had 5 of my own children. 2 of mine were epileptic. As I sat in medical offices, not even for myself, but for my children, you're always asked to fill out medical histories. And what do I do on my chart? NA, 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 NA. When I started having children, I had to fill out medical applications for them and medical histories. And I started writing again, NA, NA, NA. And I thought, you know what? That's not right. NA stands for not applicable. It is applicable. I'm applicable. These people behind me are applicable. So I started writing unknown. And I got to tell you, having one child with epilepsy was tough. Having two with epilepsy was tough. And many of you know the story of my 6-year-old I lost to cancer. For a lot of years, I challenged myself on whether or not my own biology was responsible for a lot of that. But then again, all I can say is unknown. Well, I'm not here to tell you boo-hoo stories about myself, but that's the medical reality that many of these people face. God forbid any of these people need organ donation, bone marrow transplants, because the people that they would need that most from, they don't have that information. Because we in the medical world are considered unknown. Last year, the House passed this bill not only through the committee in a bipartisan, unanimous manner, but through the House floor. I want to quote Louise Bishop, one of our Democrat members from Philadelphia, because I think she said it best. She said, "This is a bill whose time has come." There will be the argument that we are intruding on mothers' privacy. The reality is there's probably as many mothers or parents who are looking for their children as there are children looking for their mother. More importantly, there was no law that said that we were going to provide anonymity forever. The reality is we all grow up and we become adults. And I know in my own searches that sometimes these things aren't as pretty, you don't get the results that you want, and you don't end up on a TV program with this wonderful reunion. But that's not what this is about. It's not only about the fact that people would like to have information about their medical history. It's not about the fact that everybody's going to run out and try to find their mother and their father. Because the reality, for the segment of people in Pennsylvania that are kept from doing this is not everybody. Today's adoptions are far more open, and some other testifiers may tell you, probably over 95% of adoptions today are much more open. Parents, biological and adoptive, working together. Why? Because they want what's best for that child. But for that segment of us that have been cut out of this and told by our own government that now demands a birth certificate for everything we got to do after 9/11, that we can't have it, to me, it fundamentally boils down to fairness. And as policymakers, I think we have that opportunity to change that. It is not about interrupting people's lives. Many of us, our parents are probably gone. And every day that ticks by that we're not allowing people to have the same rights as all Pennsylvanians, we lose that opportunity. I realize that the window for me is closed probably at 52 years old, and the information from my children and now grandson is going to be unknown. How many more generations of my family and the families behind me have to continue to have that unknown information, and more importantly, being treated differently? I don't need to tell you this bill sits in the Senate, and I am gracious for this hearing. But I will say with the enactment, Pennsylvania could join 7 other states that do not seal their adoption records: Alabama, Alaska, Kansas, New Hampshire, Oregon, Rhode Island, and Tennessee. Many of you know New Jersey is quickly working on this issue as well. This bill has actually passed through their Senate and their General Assembly and awaits Governor Christie's signature. 5 other states provide access to birth records information depending on the years of the adoptions. I think that's silly, but that's an argument for their legislators. If we're going to do it, I think we do it right and do it for everybody. As I said, keep in mind, this is not just about children wanting to find their mother. We're not children, we're adults. The bill's designed to be helping adults. In addition to the YouTube video, I want to take one moment, if I may, and I'm going to provide a copy for you of an article written by the Courier Post. It says, "Who am I? Where do I come from?" Few questions are basic and not universal. For adoptees, the answers may be complicated, but having access to their own birth record and medical histories shouldn't be. In most states, including New Jersey, a child's birth certificate is sealed when adoption is completed. An amended birth certificate bearing the names of their adoptive parents and often the hometown or just their county. Many people sit in this room, and my dear friend in Illinois don't even know what town they were born in. The process is a remnant of time when unwed girls hid their pregnancies, infertility couples hid their struggles, and families were advised to act as if they had been formed in the usual way. But it's archaic. In an era when more than 40% of children are born to single women, families are upfront about coming together through marriage, medicine and other means, and open adoptions are the norm. It's archaic in a society where we need several forms of idea to drive and to travel. Our families' medical histories can tell us more than ever about our future, and it's easier than ever to find information about almost anything. I'm not going to read the rest of this because I know you folks are well and able to do that. But I'm going to close in two comments. And that is, I know there are testifiers here, and I know there's people who may have oppositions and think that we're trying to invade into people's lives. That is not the case. We want fair rights for everybody in Pennsylvania or someone who's born in Pennsylvania. In the state of Ohio, the Catholic Conference reversed themselves. And I'm going to paraphrase a letter that they wrote as that bill was passing through their General Assembly. And I'm going to send you a copy of it because I know your time is valuable. In paraphrasing, it says, in examining House Bill 61, Senate Bill 23, with each of our diocese adoption directors, the Catholic Conference of Ohio concludes that the proposed provisions of the contract preference form is a help compromise regarding access and adopted birth records. We add our support to House Bill 61 and Senate Bill 23. We acknowledge and confirm that providing adopted adults the access to the original birth certificates is not only good practice, but also, more importantly, the right and just thing to do. I'm hoping that our friends in the Catholic Conference in Pennsylvania do the same. I know this is an issue tough for them, and I appreciate their friendship and their guidance on so many other issues. In closing, I do want to say, on behalf of all the other adoptees across Pennsylvania, we can't thank you enough for listening to this. I'm open-minded to listening to other suggestions you may have. But this is about an opportunity. As us as public service, we look at thousands of pieces of legislation. I've thought about my own career. If I were to retire tomorrow, what bills did I ever pass or was I ever involved with where I really thought I changed someone's lives? Or more importantly, as my friend Representative Hutchinson has hanging behind his don't tell him I said that, Senator Hutchinson. He has a plaque behind his desk and he says, does this legislation improve other people's lives? And I often think about that because I saw it as a freshman, and I remember that time and time again. Well, my good friends in the Senate, I tell you, I think you have an opportunity, reviewing House Bill 162, to pass a piece of legislation that's not just a bunch of numbers, it's not balancing budgets, but it's about changing people's lives, and more importantly, enhancing them, everyone involved. Many of these adoptees out here, adoptive parents, are guiding them, helping them, supporting them, wanting them to find the very answers that Senator Washington talked about for her own brother. I appreciate your time, and respectful of that, I thank you on behalf of myself and all the adoptees from Pennsylvania and across this country. Thank you.